What if the strongest version of you doesn't arrive with noise? What if real transformation doesn't come with applause, but with silence? Not posted, but practiced. Not shown, but built. We live in a world addicted to noise, updates, attention, validation. Everyone wants to be seen working. Few are willing to simply work. Everyone craves applause halfway through the process, but the truth is, greatness doesn't clap for itself. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you focused so intensely on your growth that you forgot to announce it? When was the last time you went to battle for your goals, not to prove something to others, but to prove something to yourself? We've been taught to believe that sharing equals progress, that saying it out loud somehow makes it more real. But most people talk themselves out of becoming. They reveal the seed before it has time to take root. And once it's exposed, it becomes vulnerable to doubt, to distraction, to noise. But not you. This isn't about making noise. This is about building quietly, with discipline, with focus, without chasing likes, approval, or recognition. This is about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just chase greatness, but lives it. Every single day, behind the scenes, when no one is watching, because that's when it counts. This is your permission to go quiet, to go deep, to retreat, not to hide, but to prepare, because silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's strength that doesn't need to be announced. It's discipline that doesn't need an audience. It's the calm before the breakthrough. Understand this. The person who builds in silence is dangerous because no one sees them coming. While others are distracted by proving, they're becoming. While others are busy performing, they're transforming. And when they finally step forward, it's not with potential, it's with power. So if you felt misunderstood, unseen, overlooked, good. It means your power is still intact. It means your energy hasn't been scattered. It means your roots are growing silently, deeply, and soon the world won't be able to ignore what you've built. This is your reminder. Stop announcing, start aligning, stop explaining, start executing, stop seeking validation, start mastering yourself. In this video, we'll explore the mindset required to build quietly, to focus so fully on your path that the noise disappears. No need for applause, just consistent growth, relentless discipline, and results that speak louder than words ever could. Let's begin. What if your greatest transformation isn't something the world witnesses in real time, but something it only understands after it's done? In a world screaming for attention, choosing silence is radical. Choosing to stay grounded while others chase noise, that's power. So start today. Set boundaries around your energy. Stop broadcasting every move to people who haven't earned that access. Stop giving the world a front row seat to a transformation that's still unfolding. Let them wonder. Let them assume. Let them talk. You build quietly, relentlessly, authentically. And when the time comes to speak, let your results do the talking. Comparison isn't just a thief of joy, it's a thief of identity. And in this scroll-obsessed world, it's become a habit. You open your phone and in seconds, you're flooded with someone else's highlight reel, their success, their beauty, their lifestyle, their perfect reality. And suddenly you feel behind, inadequate, not enough. But here's the truth. Comparison isn't just toxic, it's deceptive. You're comparing your unfiltered reality to their edited illusion. You're measuring your chapter 3 against their chapter 30. And worse, you're basing your worth on a story filtered through angles, lighting, and control. You don't see the cost behind the image. You don't know what they've sacrificed, or what they're hiding. Yet you let their projection distort your progress. That's not fair to you. That's not fair to your journey. Comparison wears ambition's mask, but it's really just distraction. It feels like fuel, but it derails. You stop building what's meant for you and start chasing someone else's blueprint. But that map was never meant to guide your steps. And here's the real danger. Comparison breeds resentment toward others, toward yourself. Admiration turns to envy. Gratitude turns to scarcity. You see life through the lens of not enough. Not enough time, not enough success, not enough worth. And once that belief takes root, it poisons your clarity. So how do you kill comparison? You refocus, not on perfection, but on progress. You stop measuring sideways and start measuring backwards. Instead of asking, am I where they are? Ask, am I further than I was last week? Instead of scrolling their story, start writing your own. Brick by brick, you stay in your lane. You define what success means for you, not what it looks like online, not what your friends chase, not what your family expects, what you know you're here to create. And when you lock into that truth, the noise fades. You realize you're not behind, you're not off track. You're just building something different. Gratitude becomes your anchor, not the surface-level kind, but deep, grounded, present gratitude. The kind that says, what I have now is enough to keep going. That mindset doesn't limit growth, it fuels it, because you're building from wholeness, not from lack. And above all, limit your exposure. You can't scroll for hours and expect clarity. You can't feed on comparison and expect confidence. What you consume shapes who you become. If all you see is artificial perfection, you'll start chasing a life that isn't yours. And in that chase, you'll lose yourself. So, protect your vision, protect your feed, protect your time, not out of fear, but out of intention. Because if you don't build boundaries, comparison will tear down everything you're creating, your peace, your purpose, your authenticity. This is your reminder. You don't need to be like them. You're not falling behind. Your timeline is real. Your pace is valid. And if you stay aligned with your mission, not theirs, you'll arrive right on time. Let them chase attention. You chase alignment. Because in the end, it's not the loudest who win, it's the most focused, the ones who stopped comparing, the ones who locked in on their path, the ones who kept building quietly, until the world had no choice but to notice. Now ask yourself, what could you create if you stopped comparing? What would your life look like if you stopped scrolling and started building? That's where the power is, that's where peace lives. And that's the path most people will never take, but you can, starting now. Here's the truth most won't accept. Your next evolution won't go viral. It won't be validated. It won't even be noticed, not at first. Because real growth happens in the dark, in silence, in the quiet moments no one sees. We live in a culture obsessed with exposure. If it's not posted, it didn't happen. But the strongest version of you, it's forged in solitude. While they perform, you prepare. While they post, you progress. Relentlessly, privately, without praise, without certainty. And that's what makes it real. When you can train without recognition, work without applause, and push forward without permission, you become unstoppable. Because your belief in yourself becomes unshakable. Let this truth settle deep. Lions don't announce the hunt. They move in silence, focused, calculated, and when the moment is right, they strike. That's how you move now, with purpose, with patience, with fire. You don't talk about the work. You do the work, quietly, daily, without needing attention, because noise is easy, execution is rare. And if you're truly committed to changing your life, your actions must become louder than your words. Becoming unrecognizable isn't about looking different, it's about being different, thinking differently, choosing differently, responding differently. While others hit snooze, you rise. What if the most powerful thing you could do right now is disappear into the work? While the world chases attention, you sharpen your edge. While others repeat cycles, you rewrite your story, brick by brick. And if you do it long enough, Something shifts. You feel it before anyone else sees it. A change in how you move, a new cadence in your thoughts. The doubt that once held space in your mind starts to fade, and the voice that whispers, "Keep going," grows louder. That's the signal. That's the evidence. You're evolving, but here's the secret most don't understand. The world won't recognize the new you until you no longer recognize the old one. When how you think, speak, act, and show up feels foreign to who you used to be. That's when you know you've done it right. When your habits surprise you, when your discipline impresses you, when the future you envisioned starts showing up in your present reality. And you didn't announce it. You didn't broadcast it. You just became it. And that version of you, it can't be denied. So if you feel unseen right now, like no one notices the work, good. Stay there. That's the proving ground. That's where the champions are made. Not under spotlights, but in silence. Not through applause, but through self-trust. That's where the old identity dies and the new one is born. You don't need validation for who you're becoming. You need consistency. You don't need likes. You need reps. You don't need an audience. You need alignment. And one day, when you walk into a room as the elevated version of yourself, you won't need to say a word. The energy will speak before you do. The same people who overlooked you, they'll feel the shift, not because you forced their attention, but because you earned their respect. So build, quietly, relentlessly, not for approval, but for evolution. Not for noise, but for power, and not the kind of power that seeks attention, the kind that attracts it without trying. The kind that isn't built in the spotlight, but revealed by it, because what they see, the glow-up, the success, the shine, is just the surface. What they'll never fully understand is what built it. The daily choices, the quiet hours, the ruthless discipline, the discomfort that forged the transformation. Make no mistake, greatness doesn't start loud. It starts in quiet routines, in early mornings with no witnesses, in late nights with no applause, in skipped events, unanswered messages, lonely weekends, in moments where you chose purpose over pleasure. And that's where it begins. Quiet, relentless, unshakable. Most people won't experience this because they're addicted to being seen. They want to look like they're building more than they want to build. But you're different. You're not chasing optics, you're chasing outcomes. You don't need to appear powerful. You need to become powerful. And here's the truth. Your obsession is your edge, not the kind that drains you, the sacred kind, the kind that aligns with your purpose, elevates your identity, and holds you to a higher standard. It says, this matters more than anything else right now. It's the kind of obsession that says, I'm willing to go dark for this. I'm willing to disappear for this. I'm willing to sacrifice comfort, recognition, distraction for the evolution of who I'm here to become. And yes, the rewards will come, the recognition, the success, the impact. It all shows up, but only if you can outlast the silence, because silence is the test. It feels like nothing is changing, and that's where most people quit. But the ones who stay, they know better. They know silence isn't empty, it's sacred. That's where the roots deepen. That's where your mindset sharpens. That's where your body, your habits, your character evolve. Slowly, invisibly, inevitably. You build in silence so that one day your results make the noise. But to get there, two things must lock together, obsession and discipline. Discipline is the structure. Obsession is the fire. Discipline gets you up. Obsession keeps you up. Together, they make you unstoppable. And the key? You don't wait to feel ready. You don't train when it's convenient. You don't build when it's easy. You decide, this is who I am now. That's the secret. When discipline becomes your identity, not just your habit, everything changes. You stop negotiating. You stop slipping. You stop restarting your life every time your mood shifts. Yes, it feels like sacrifice at first, but one day, what used To feel hard becomes automatic, and that's how you know you've arrived. So build your discipline in silence, protect it like a flame in the wind, guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. Wake up early, without a post about it. Train hard without sharing the results. Sharpen your mind without seeking praise. Let others scroll. Let them talk. Let them wonder where you went. And then, when they finally see you again, they won't recognize you. They'll feel the presence. They'll see the change. They'll understand what you did, not because you told them, but because your results told the story. You didn't just talk about building something. You built it, quietly, obsessively, relentlessly. That's the game most will never play, and that's exactly why most will never rise. You don't need the world to believe in you. You just need the discipline to build without them, because there comes a point on this path when you stop explaining. Not out of pride, but out of peace. You stop updating, you stop justifying, because you finally understand. Results speak a language no one can ignore. Let them perform, let them pretend. You've chosen a different kind of power, the kind that doesn't post every step, but lets the outcome speak for itself. Because in the end, the loudest person in the room is rarely the one doing the most. Real power doesn't announce itself. It proves itself. And when you build in silence, you grow without interference. You rise without noise. You evolve without limits. And when the world finally sees what you've become, it's too late to stop you. Maybe the greatest power isn't being seen, but becoming impossible to ignore. That's where most people get it wrong. They chase perception instead of performance. They'd rather look disciplined than be disciplined. They post gym selfies, but skip reps. They talk about focus, but only apply it when it's convenient. They crave respect, but haven't produced results. You're not playing that game. You chose a different path. You stayed quiet. You kept your head down. You let your body, your business, your energy, and your presence speak for you. And when they finally ask how you did it, you won't have to say a word. They'll see it. They'll feel it. They'll know it. Because results erase all doubt. They silence critics. They cut through noise, and they prove that transformation isn't an argument, it's evidence. And the only way to get there is to stay committed when no one's watching. Train without applause, work late even if no one understands, read more, rest better, study deeper. Execute without expecting recognition. Here's what most people don't understand. The longer you delay the need to be seen, the more powerful you become, more dangerous. Because while others depend on approval, you developed an internal compass. You learned to move without applause, and that made you unbreakable. When the praise fades, and it will, you'll continue. When support vanishes, and it will, you'll endure. When no one acknowledges the effort, you'll remain steady. Because your standards don't come from the world. They come from you. Let them underestimate you. Let them forget your name. Let them count you out. That's fuel. Because when you finally step out, when the result is ready, it won't be you saying, "Look at me." It will be your work shouting, "This is who I am now." And that quiet dominance, that's what they'll never forget. So keep going. Make your results speak so loudly that no one ever questions your silence again. In the world you're building, energy is your most valuable currency. Not time, not money, not status. Because without energy, none of those matter. You could have the best plan, the clearest vision, the sharpest strategy. But if your energy is scattered, distracted, or drained, you won't execute. You'll hesitate. You'll stall. And in a world that rewards speed, clarity, and focus, that pause could cost you everything. So let's be clear. If you're truly committed to building in silence, you need to protect your energy like your life depends on it. Because it does. That means making hard decisions, saying no more than yes. Closing chapters, walking away from people who drain you, even if they've been in your life for years. Silencing distractions, even if they're popular, addictive, even if everyone loves them. You're not everyone. You're building something rare, and rare people move differently. Start asking yourself every day, does this add to or take from my energy? That one question can change everything, because the things that drain you the most often wear the mask of normal, endless scrolling, casual gossip. One more episode. Empty debates, pointless comparisons, tiny habits that piece by piece rob you of greatness. 1 hour at a time, and the worst part, you don't even notice until it's too late, until your mind is foggy. Your motivation fades, your spark dims, and you ask, what's wrong with me? The answer isn't always burnout from overworking. Often it's burnout from too much noise and not enough purpose. How do you fight that? With boundaries, and by enforcing them firmly, not out of arrogance, not because you think you're better, but because you understand something others don't. You're building, and builders don't leave their blueprints in the rain. They don't let just anyone walk through their site. They don't respond to everything, explain everything, react to everything. They're focused on their structure, and that focus is sacred. Start protecting your mind like a temple. Guard the door. Be selective about what you consume. If it doesn't build you, don't let it in. If it doesn't fuel you, let it go. This doesn't mean isolation. It means intention. Stop being available to distraction. Stop chasing approval. Stop explaining your vision to those who've already decided not to understand it. Some people will never get what you're doing. And that's okay. They don't need to. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them doubt. Every minute you spend trying to convince them is a minute stolen from your destiny. And you can't afford that. Your energy is for building, for moving forward, for staying clear, focused, and relentlessly committed. Say this with yourself now. I don't explain myself to those who don't listen with intention. I don't give my energy to what doesn't multiply it. I don't waste my focus on what feels urgent but doesn't matter. From today on, your energy is sacred. Protect it, preserve it, fuel it with discipline, environment, and intention, because the one who masters their energy masters their path, and the one who masters their path masters their outcome. Let the world exhaust itself arguing, reacting, pretending. Not you. You stay grounded, stay centered, and keep building. There's a reason the world underestimates you right now. They don't see the fire you're building in silence. They don't hear the 2 a.m. conversations you have with yourself. They don't know about the sacrifices, the early mornings, the disciplined nights, and that's how it should be. Because the power forged in the dark is the power that lasts the longest. Silent effort needs no permission, no applause, just purpose. And when you carry that purpose day after day, focused, disciplined, relentless, you become someone who no longer needs to speak. Because your results speak for you. Your evolution is your answer. Your presence becomes impossible to ignore. So don't worry if no one sees you today. Don't rush to prove anything. Don't waste your voice in places that were never meant to understand your vision. Just keep laying bricks. Keep refining habits. Keep polishing the details of the person you're becoming, because eventually they'll see. And when they do, it won't be because you told them. It will be because your life became too obvious to ignore. Let your silence be your shield. Let your progress be your proof. Let your discipline scream louder than any announcement. You don't need applause. You don't need understanding. You need only one thing to keep going. You build in silence, to rise in power. And if you're on this path, if something inside you is shifting, then stay. Because this isn't the end. It's just the foundation, and what's coming next will break every mold. Get ready, protect yourself, and keep building. The art of holding the shadow. Starting isn't the hard part. Starting is overrated. Anyone can feel a spark of motivation, ignite a flame, and say, this time for real. The hard part isn't starting. The hard part is staying. Staying when The emotion fades, staying when results take longer than expected, when progress feels invisible, when your days look the same, when no one notices your effort, when even you aren't sure you're moving forward. That's where most people quit. That's where they change direction. That's where they walk away, but not you. You chose something harder, something that can't be faked, consistency without witnesses, because there's a difference between someone chasing attention and someone chasing transformation. The first one seeks cameras, likes, validation. The second one seeks silence, friction, real growth. One wants to appear, the other wants to be, and in that being there is solitude, but there's also fire, a fire that doesn't need external fuel, a fire that burns without permission. You start to realize that what matters isn't how much you do when you're inspired, but how much you do when you're not. When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when you're questioning if it's even worth it, because that's where the unshakable are forged. That's where the line is drawn between those in love with the idea and those married to the process. The world rewards the visible, but the visible is always born in the invisible. Your discipline, your focus, your resilience, your daily intention, all of it is invisible, until one day it's not. And when that day comes, they'll say it happened overnight. They'll ignore the hours lost, the silent rejections, the boundaries you had to set, the unpopular decisions you had to make. But you'll know. You'll remember the cost, because what you're building isn't fast, cheap, or loud. It's real, and the real requires deep roots. Here's an uncomfortable truth. You are responsible for your energy, your focus, your path. Not your parents, not your friends, not your surroundings. You, responsible for cutting what drains, for limiting what distracts, for saying no even when it hurts, for disciplining yourself even when no one celebrates it. You are the gatekeeper of your own greatness. And you can't outsource that responsibility. There will be days you feel invisible, when it seems like nothing's changing, no one's listening, that all of this is for nothing, and right there you'll have to ask yourself, am I doing this for validation or for purpose? Because if it's for validation, silence will destroy you. But if it's for purpose, silence won't matter. That's what makes you different. Your engine is internal. It doesn't shut down when others don't care. It doesn't depend on being seen. It doesn't need to be understood. You're building something so firm, no praise can inflate it, and no criticism can destroy it. That's strength. That's personal sovereignty. That's mastery. Mastering yourself when no one's watching. Correcting yourself when no one demands it. Repeating the reps when no one applauds, continuing when everything feels flat. That's the practice the world never sees, the mental gym, the emotional training, the small decisions that shape your identity. Identity. It's not what you say you are, it's what you repeat when no one's watching. What you choose in private moments, what you do when there's no immediate reward. That's where true authority is born. And one day, without announcing it, you become that person, not because you said it, not because you posted it, but because you embodied it. The way you speak changes. Your energy shifts. Your environment responds differently. And most powerful of all, you start to trust yourself. Not an arrogant trust, a quiet one. The kind that comes from keeping private promises, from upholding standards no one else asked. Of you, from carrying a fire inside that doesn't need to be seen to keep burning. So keep going. Keep chiseling your character in the margins of the day. Keep refining your habits like the world depends on them. Keep sharpening your mind like a warrior sharpens his blade, because you're not competing with anyone. You're becoming a version of yourself that can't be ignored. And when the moment comes, and it will, when the world asks, where did you come from? The answer will be clear. You didn't come from nowhere. You came from the shadows, and the shadow wasn't a weakness. It was your incubator. The shadow was where you learned not to give up, where you learned not to rely on applause, where you Developed a resilience that can't be seen but can be felt. That's what's making you dangerous. Because while others burn out trying to be seen, you're training to be unforgettable. And you won't need to say a word. Because when you arrive, your presence alone will speak louder than any speech.